Hi, my name's Benyon and I'm a documentary and portrait photographer, and today I'm going to share with you 5 tips and techniques that you can use for creative storytelling. This time of year I would usually be busy with weddings, but like everyone else I'm on lockdown with my family, so to give myself a bit of a focus I've been capturing a photographic journal of family life over the last several weeks. It's something that I think is really important to document, but also something I can look back on in the years to come with my daughter, who's too young to remember it at the moment. So I'm going to share with you 5 different tips and techniques that I use just to add a bit of creativity to my images. When I'm shooting, I mainly use a 35mm prime, but with really fast primes, it's very tempting to shoot them wide open to get nice blurry background and that shallow depth of field look. But for documentary images, I think it's really important to have more of the image in focus as possible. Ultimately, you're trying to tell a story or capture a moment or emotion, and all the details in that image are going to help convey the story. Now, depending on the available light, I will usually shoot between f4 and f8 to give me a wider depth of field. However, if I'm indoors and I'm pushing my ISO and shutter speed because of the poor light, I will open up my aperture if I really need to. Having a good understanding of the light source you're working with is going to really help you be more creative with your images. Is it a sunny day so the light is more harsh and has more contrast? Or is it an overcast day so the light is more flat and soft? Is it natural or artificial light? Also think about the direction of the light in relation to you and how it falls on the subject and the environment. Do you want to use it as a backlight to create a silhouette of the scene to add a bit of impact? Or do you want to use it more as a main light to shape the scene and the subjects? Think about how you want the light to look and how it will affect your image, and move around so the light is working for you and you're not working against it. Following on from tip 2, play around with exposing for the brighter areas of the scene rather than trying to get an even, balanced exposure. This is a great way to add a bit of extra drama to your images, especially if you're working with really hard light, like a sunny day with a lot of contrast between the highlights and shadows. By underexposing for the scene, you're going to protect the details in the highlights and also create really deep shadows. You can then use these shadows to add depth and impact to the scene, whilst using the pockets of light to create interesting shapes and framing of the subject and environment. Unconsciously, it's really easy to end up shooting everything from the same height and straight on. But by changing your perspective and angles on the scene, you can start to play around with some really interesting compositions. Try different angles than what you would normally use, like getting down on the floor and shooting straight up at the subject, or getting above everything that's going on and shooting down on the scene. Try stepping further back if you can to get a wider shot and include more of the scene for a better sense of scale and environment, or getting really close for more detailed shots. Sometimes you can convey just as much of the story with the close-up details as you can with a really wide image. Now, I know some people are going to disagree with me on this, but bear with me. Personally, I'm a big fan of letting the camera do as much of the work as possible. Don't get me wrong, I think it's incredibly useful to know how to work with a camera in manual, but quite honestly, I use aperture priority and auto ISO 90% of the time I'm shooting my documentary work. I will use manual if I really want to take back more control, or if I'm trying to get a certain look to the image. But really, the less you have to think about and worry about in terms of the technical aspects, the more you can focus on what's going on around you and being reactive to the moment. Ultimately, why you captured that image is always going to be more important than how you captured it. So shoot in whatever setting you feel most comfortable using. So I hope you found these 5 tips and techniques interesting, and you've enjoyed looking at some of the images I've been creating over the last couple of weeks with my family. Importantly, all of these tips and techniques can be tried out and practiced safely at home whilst maintaining social distancing. It would be brilliant to see any images you've created during this time, and if you want to share any of your images on social media, please make sure to use the hashtag ISOphoto and tag 3 other creatives who might also want to get involved. So that's it from me. Hopefully we'll see everyone at the show in September, but until then, please keep safe.